You wake up, and as soon as you open your eyes, your chest is already tight. It feels like something bad is going to happen, but nothing has happened yet. But your body acts like the world is falling apart. The heart races, the breath becomes shallow, the mind screams, and the worst part? You get up like everything is fine. You brush your teeth in a hurry, without tasting the toothpaste. He puts his clothes on automatic. He doesn't even remember what he wore yesterday. Go out to work, study, live, but it's just surviving. You smile in the elevator, you joke in the WhatsApp group, but inside, the voice that commands you is only one. You won't make it, you'll fail, you'll crash. And even when there is no real danger, the alarm does not stop. Your body lives in emergency mode, but nobody sees, and you learn to hide. Why? Because one day they said that feeling anxious was a weakness. They said it was drama, that it was all in his head, and you believed. He began to distrust himself, to criticize yourself, to be ashamed of feeling. He started to disconnect from you, and anxiety noticed, and took over. It settled where there was once a presence. She grew up in the void where self-respect should have lived, and he started to decide for you. She chooses what you avoid. It dictates how you respond. She even controls her silences. You find yourself saying, "I can't," when you want to say, "I'll try." You find yourself moving away when you most wanted to get closer, turning off the cell phone when the heart most asked for connection. And here comes the question that no one has ever asked you. If you really respected yourself, would you let anxiety rule you? This question is more than provocative. She is a mirror, because if you look closely, you will realize you don't just hate anxiety, you hate what she's turned you into. And even more, he hates not being able to get out of this alone. But let me tell you something that no one told you. What you feel does not define you. What you are experiencing is not the end of the line. And most importantly, what you went through in silence is not weakness. The anxiety is real. The pain is legitimate. But what you do with it defines the course of your story. And that story could change now, if you're willing to listen. Not me, but to himself. What have you been ignoring for so long? What truth do you refuse to face? What part of you is screaming for help, while you pretend not to hear? Because today, here, I didn't come to entertain you. I came to remind you of what you forgot. You still have a choice. Even with fear, even with tremors, even with 1,000 negative thoughts, you can now begin to take back the reins. And it all starts with a decision. Respect yourself more than fear discomfort. Because in the end, the big change begins with a simple gesture. Listen to this pain without running away from it. Have you ever tried to explain to someone how you feel, and they just replied, "Oh, relax. It's just stress." But it's not just stress. It's like living with a storm inside your chest while the world remains sunny outside. You wake up tired. It's not sleep. It's emotional exhaustion. As if I had run a marathon in my sleep. And there's that lump in your throat. That feeling of being about to cry, even when nothing concrete has happened. But you hold on. Always hold on. Because you think you can't be weak anymore. The truth is that you carry the weight of the world inside your mind. Every thought becomes a threat. Every silence, rejection, every delay in responding is proof that you are not loved. Pain is not always visible, but it is constant. It's like walking barefoot on glass and still smiling for the photo. You go to college, work, church, party, but it's never fully there because your head doesn't allow it. She is always somewhere else, or rather, everywhere at the same time. What if I fail? What if they laugh at me? What if I freeze in front of everyone? What if they leave me out again? It's as if every thought is a nail being driven into your peace, and you got used to it, living under tension, being on alert at all times. Anxiety has become your default mode. You no longer remember what it was like to live lightly, what it was like to eat calmly, to sleep peacefully, enjoy something without thinking about what happens next. And the cruelest thing of all, nobody notices, because you're good at pretending, because you still get things done. He hands in projects, gets good grades, makes jokes in groups, and inside, it's in pieces. This is the pain that almost no one understands, because anxiety, unlike a fracture or a fever, does not show up on the exam. But it's there, in its isolation, in your constant need for control, in the irrational fear of making mistakes, in the difficulty of breathing when everything seems to be normal. And the worst part is that you start to doubt yourself. Am I crazy? Weak? Exaggerated? No, you are nothing like that. You're just tired of fighting an invisible war, and this is more common than you might think. There are thousands, maybe millions, of people feeling exactly like you right now, but they all think they are alone, which are the only ones lost in the dark, who are the only ones screaming internally while saying it's okay. This is the poison of anxiety. It not only hurts you, it isolates you. She makes you believe that no one will understand, that no one can help, that no one will stay if they know who you really are. And that's why you wear masks. You strive to be what they expect of you, even if it costs your mental health. But I need to tell you something very clearly. This pain is not a sign of weakness. This pain is a cry for help. It's your soul saying, hey, look at me, I'm here. And maybe, just maybe, you don't have to keep pretending. Jordan Peterson doesn't talk about anxiety as an emotional quirk. He speaks as if he understands the abyss, as someone who has looked head-on into the chaos of the human mind and lived to tell the tale. He states, anxiety is a messenger. It appears when there is disorder, when your life is in conflict with what is true. It's not weakness. It's a sign, a legitimate warning that something inside you is crying out for change. Peterson insists, you need to bring order to your world. Start with what's closest to you, with your own soul. And it starts when you stop denying what you feel, when you stop emotionally abusing yourself, trying to appear strong. Anxiety, according to him, is the body screaming for coherence. It's your biology demanding that you stop cheating on yourself, stop living lives that aren't yours, dreams that don't belong to you, patterns that destroy you. He doesn't just tell you to think positive. Peterson is not an Instagram coach. He looks you in the eyes and says, fix what's in front of you, or you'll be swallowed up by what you refuse to face. That speech is harsh, but liberating, because it takes the weight of guilt off your shoulders and puts the power of responsibility in your hands. It's not about eliminating anxiety. It's about understanding what she's trying to tell you. It's about learning to listen before the scream turns into a breakdown. Jordan also teaches that the solution is not out there. It's not a magic pill, nor a savior guru. The real revolution begins within, and it takes courage. Courage to make your bed, to organize your day, to face the mess you hide behind the scenes of your soul. And he says more. Anxiety goes away when you face it with conscious action, with structure, with clarity. This means that your fear is not the problem. The problem is not knowing what to do with it. It is surrendering to chaos and accepting that it is your master. But you were not made to live on your knees in fear. You were made to get up, even if you tremble, and walk, one step at a time, towards what makes sense for your life. Peterson reminds us of this all the time. He doesn't talk to the victors. He speaks to those who are in pieces, with those who have already thought about giving up, with those who feel invisible. And he says, the path of truth hurts, but it is the only one that sets you free. So maybe, just maybe, your anxiety is begging for this. True. Structure. Action. And I need to ask you something now sincerely. If this video is already touching you in some way, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We're not here just to deliver content. We're here to build a community where no one has to face chaos alone. You deserve this clarity. You deserve this breather. And most importantly, you deserve to relearn how to own your story. For a long time, you were taught that feeling fear was for weak people. They told you that men don't cry, or that you are strong, you can handle it. They pushed you forward when all you needed was to stop and be welcomed. They created this distorted belief that feeling anxious is failure, that if you were truly balanced, you wouldn't feel this way. They lied to you, because the truth is the opposite. The strongest people are precisely those who feel everything intensely, and yet they continue. Those who feel anxiety are not weak. Weak is he who closes himself off. Weak is he who uses arrogance to hide fear. Weak is he who refuses to look inside because he knows that what he will find scares him. Are you sorry? Do you have panic attacks? Do you freeze in social situations? Do you have racing thoughts that don't stop even in the early hours of the morning? Congratulations. This only proves one thing. You are sensitive, and that is a strength. Sensitivity is not a defect, it's radar. It is an advanced system that detects what is misaligned. The problem was never feeling. The problem is not knowing how to deal with what you feel, and that's not your fault. Society didn't teach you how to deal with emotions. It taught you to suppress, to hide, to run. They trained you to be functional, not to be human. They gave you tasks, goals, pressure, but they never gave you a map to navigate your own heart. So when anxiety appeared, you thought it was a mistake, but it isn't. She appeared because you are alive, because there is something inside you that still cries out for truth, who does not conform to a meaningless life, who does not accept the inconsistency between what you show and what really is. And here's the big breakdown. You don't need to cure anxiety to be worthy of love, respect, and presence. You are already worthy, even in the midst of chaos. Repeat this to yourself now, quietly or just from your heart. I am not a mistake. I am a human being in progress. Jordan Peterson speaks to this clearly. He says that suffering is inevitable, but that avoiding legitimate suffering creates even greater suffering, the suffering of emptiness. And that's what this false belief has brought you. Avoid, because by trying to be strong all the time, you stopped being real. And the cure is not in pretending that everything is okay. It is in admitting it's not, but I'm willing to face it. This is when the transformation begins, when you take off the armor, when you stop acting, when you start being honest with yourself. It's not weakness, it's bravery. Only the brave have the courage to say, yes, I feel fear, but I will no longer let it decide my fate. This is the turning point, and it starts now. Now I want you to do one thing. Stop for a moment. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. You won't run away from anything. Just listen. What is your body saying? That knot in your chest, that tension in your shoulders, that tightness in your throat? It's your truth wanting to show itself. Anxiety doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It is the result of a profound imbalance between what you experience and what you feel you should experience. How many times have you pretended everything was okay when it wasn't? How many times have you swallowed your desires, your limits, your pain? And today, your body screams silently because it can't take it anymore. Listening to your body is the first step to understanding what your mind is trying to hide, because the mind sometimes gets lost in stories, fears, projections, but the body is brutally honest. When you notice what your body is telling you, you begin to find yourself again. You begin to understand that what you feel is not weakness, but a compass, that anxiety is a symptom, not the disease. And then comes the question you may never have asked yourself: what is in conflict within me? Because anxiety doesn't live alone. She is the daughter of internal conflict, of what you think you should be versus what you really are. From the pain of disconnection with oneself. That's where self-knowledge begins. Not as a superficial search, but as a dive into the depths. In those parts you hid even from yourself. Jordan Peterson says you need to look at your shadow. Those parts of yourself you don't want to face. Because only by facing this shadow can you find clarity. And clarity is what dissolves anxiety. This means you will have to look at your flaws, fears, and pains without running away. Without judging yourself, without punishing yourself. Looking at the shadow is an act of courage. It's a silent commitment to yourself. It's the promise that you will take care of what you've always neglected. And in the midst of this darkness, you will find a beacon, your own essence, that part of you that never died, despite the struggle. So listen, anxiety can be your soul's cry asking you to stop and pay attention, not as a punishment, but as a calling. A call for you to be whole, so that you can be true, so that you may be free. But this requires patience, requires presence. It requires that you be willing to feel what needs to be felt, because only by feeling can you begin to heal. And only by healing yourself will you finally be able to say, I am more than this anxiety. And more than that, I respect myself enough to not let her boss me around anymore. There is a moment that everyone faces, the moment when the shadow you avoided becomes impossible to ignore. The shadow is those parts of yourself that you have hidden, repressed, denied. The fears, the doubts, the hurts, the anger, everything you don't want anyone to see, especially you. Jordan Peterson says that it is not possible to grow without facing this shadow, without diving into the dark, without admitting that there is an unresolved war inside you. And this war may be taking its toll on your life. It may be fueling your anxiety, because the shadow does not accept being ignored. If you don't look at it, it grows. If you don't talk to your monsters, they will control you, and you will become hostage to what you fear. Looking at the shadow is the bravest act you can do. It's like entering a dark cave with only one candle. You don't know what you'll find, but you know you have to. Keep going. It can be painful. You will feel discomfort. You'll want to run away. But that's where the transformation begins. The shadow, when faced, reveals a powerful secret. She is not just darkness. It is also a source of strength, because everything you hide defines you. And by integrating the shadow, you become more whole, more authentic, more free. Peterson says, don't be afraid of what's inside you. Explore it, understand it, master it. This means taking responsibility. Assume that you are more than your weaknesses, more than your anxiety. It's assuming that, despite fear, you can act. That courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to face it even when afraid. And when you decide that, something changes. You are no longer a slave to fear. You are your own master. Now, it's important to be honest. This confrontation is not a quick process. It's not a magic trick. It's a difficult path, full of ups and downs. But every step you take into this cave brings light to what was in shadow. And this light illuminates the path to living with less anxiety, with more purpose, with more peace. And here is a sincere request. If this content is touching you, leave a like. It's not just about numbers. It's about showing those who are lost that they are not alone. Because facing the shadow is a collective act. It is a silent movement of resistance against the fear that wants to dominate. You don't have to do this alone. There are people, like you, who are also facing the dark, and together we can support each other. Remember, anxiety is not the end of your story. She is a chapter, and you have the pen to write the next ones. Imagine this. You carry a fragile glass in your chest, a glass that is not whole. He is already cracked, marked by falls, by cutting words, by moments of solitude. With each passing day, the glass seems more fragile, and with every step, you feel like you could break at any moment. The constant fear of losing control, of falling apart, paralyzes you. And this glass is not just an image, it's your own soul, trying to protect itself from the world. But the more you try to protect, the heavier the burden becomes. You live a cruel paradox. You need to carry this glass so you don't get lost. But it weighs so much that it prevents you from walking freely. And the people around don't see the glass. They just see you trying to smile, trying to be strong, trying not to show the crack. But what if I told you that this glass wasn't made to be perfect? That it doesn't need to be whole to be valuable? That his beauty lies precisely in the cracks, the marks, the scars? That's where the truth lies that few dare to tell. Sometimes what needs to be broken isn't the glass. It's what you believed about yourself. That rigid thinking that says you need to be perfect to be accepted. That inner voice that judges you, punishes you, diminishes you. That belief that fear and anxiety are defects to be hidden. If you break these beliefs, the glass may even crack more. But it will take another form, a way that allows you to breathe, that allows you to be human. Jordan Peterson talks a lot about the importance of facing the truth, no matter how hard it is, because the truth is liberating. And when you begin to accept your fragility, something incredible happens. You begin to grow stronger. Anxiety ceases to be an unbearable burden, and it becomes a sign, an indicator that you are growing, that you are transforming. No need to be afraid of breaking, because in the break there is possibility. In the crack there is light. You can rebuild. You can learn to carry glass carefully, with respect, and you may even find people who accept glass as it is, cracked, imperfect, real. This metaphor is more than a pretty image. It's an invitation for you to stop fighting yourself, so you stop trying to hide how you feel, so you can start respecting yourself, cracked glass, anxiety and all. Because respecting yourself is not about being perfect. It's being true. And being truthful is the first step to letting go of anxiety, not because it disappears, but because you become bigger than her. The decisive moment has arrived, that moment when everything can change, when you realize that anxiety is no longer your executioner but a messenger. This turning point is not magical. It's not a snap that solves everything in a second. It's a decision, a choice, a daily struggle. You are tired of running, of escaping, of hiding, and then, for the first time, you stop. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and look inside. Even if fear tries to push you away, it is in this pause that respect is born. Respect for you, because of its limitations, for your invisible battles. Respecting yourself means stopping feeding the voice that tells you you're not enough. It's telling yourself that you deserve care, even on bad days. When you choose this stance, something changes. You stop reacting automatically to anxiety triggers. Stop being a hostage to racing thoughts and panic. You learn to respond, acting with awareness even when the storm is raging in your chest. This choice is liberating, but also scary, because it means accepting that the path will not be easy, that you will have to face your fears, your doubts, your ghosts. But that's the only way to break out of the cycle, to stop living on the autopilot of anxiety, to take back control of your life. And this change does not go unnoticed. Those around you begin to notice. You don't need to explain. Your posture speaks for you. You are no longer the one who gives in to despair. You are someone who fights, who falls, but gets up, who feels fear, but doesn't let him control. Jordan Peterson explains that this is the path to emotional maturity. It's understanding that life is full of challenges, and that no matter what happens, you can choose how to respond. You won't cure anxiety overnight, but you can learn to live with it without getting lost, building an internal space where she no longer rules. This is the point where respect turns into power, the power of being yourself, with your imperfections and strengths. And this power is contagious. It transforms your relationship with the world, with others, and especially with yourself. So, this turnaround is not just yours. It is the beginning of a new story, a story where you are the protagonist. Let's be honest, anxiety doesn't just magically disappear. No one is going to sell you a miracle formula that will erase everything instantly, and that is one of the hardest truths to accept. But here's the other truth, just as powerful. You can learn to live with anxiety and not be ruled by it. It's a real, profound transformation that begins the moment you decide to take control. When you realize that you don't need to fight anxiety as an enemy, but understand it as part of your path. This change is gradual. It is made of small steps, of daily decisions, of conscious choices. You will learn to recognize the signs. Don't be scared by racing thoughts, embracing fear without being dominated by it. And most importantly, it will build internal tools to act even when anxiety is present. Jordan Peterson says that self-mastery is not the absence of problems, but the ability to face them, to keep walking despite the stones in the path. And that's exactly what you're going to do. It won't eliminate anxiety, but it will become greater than it. You will find that you can pause before reacting, that can breathe when the chest tightens, that can rely on its own strength and not just on what it expects from the world. This transformation leads you to a life with more freedom, more presence, more meaning. And the best part, this journey doesn't have to be lonely. You can seek help. You can talk to people who understand. You can connect with those who are on the same path. There is no weakness in that. There is courage. There is a decision to respect yourself, even when it seems impossible. And this respect you build for yourself radiates to everything around you. It changes your relationships, your choices, your outlook on life. Anxiety stops being a punishment and becomes an invitation to grow, to get to know yourself better, to become who you really are. You will make mistakes. You're going to stumble. There will be difficult days, but it will continue, because now you know you can, that is capable, that your life is not defined by anxiety, but by your response to it. And that is the true promise I want to leave here for you. Transformation is possible, but it depends on you. It's not about waiting for the anxiety to go away. It's about becoming bigger than her. This sentence is a hard but liberating truth. You didn't ask to be born in the circumstances you lived in. He didn't choose the wounds, the losses, the fears he carries. The chaos that formed you may have been brutal, but it doesn't define what you will become. Jordan Peterson reminds us that responsibility is not a burden but a power, the power to decide the course of your life, of building meaning even in the midst of chaos. You can look back and see the rubble, but you can also look forward and build something new. This construction requires courage, because it's easy to get lost in the storm. It's more comfortable to blame the past, but real growth happens when you take the reins, when you choose to act despite the scars. And that doesn't mean it's going to be easy, doesn't mean it won't hurt. It means you are willing to be great, facing fear, to be vulnerable, because it is in vulnerability that true strength lies, the force that transforms. What a cure! And that strength is yours. It's inside you, waiting to be awakened. When you accept this, you begin to live with purpose, with integrity, with respect for yourself. And this life is possible for you, even with anxiety, fear, and doubts. Because you are not your anxiety. You are the consciousness that observes anxiety. And that consciousness can choose. Choose order over chaos, choosing action over paralysis, choosing love over fear. This is the message Jordan Peterson leaves us, and that's what I want to leave you with today. It doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter what you suffered. You have the power to transform your story, to write a new chapter, a chapter where you respect yourself, where you no longer let anxiety rule you. And when that happens, you'll look back and realize how strong you were, how much it has grown, how whole it has become. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you resonated, a part that was tired of hiding, of suffering in silence, a part that wants more, wants to break out of this cycle, wants to be free. And this is not just your fight. It is not a path that needs to be walked alone. Many people are exactly where you were, lost, invisible, afraid to ask for help, carrying anxiety like a shameful secret. But the truth is, vulnerability is the bridge that connects us. It is in sharing that we find support, that we find the strength to continue. So, if this video touched your soul, I ask you, share it. Not just to spread content, but to reach those who are in the dark, not knowing where to seek help. Maybe someone you love is watching silently right now. Maybe he needs to hear these words to feel like he's not alone, that the struggle is real, that healing is possible. When you share, you create a network, a supportive community, where no one has to pretend everything is okay, where suffering is welcomed and hope is cultivated. And that has immense power, because transforming a person's life transforms an entire cycle. One family, one group, one generation. And you can be part of this transformation, no matter where you are right now. If you're at rock bottom or just starting to realize what's going on, your voice matters. Your attitude matters. You can be the light someone needed, the invisible hug that calms, the word that saves. So don't keep it to yourself. Share, spread, reach. And if you want to continue this journey of self-knowledge and courage, subscribe to the channel. Here, we don't sell illusions. We walk together in the search for meaning, truth, and self-respect, because no one deserves to suffer alone, and everyone deserves a real chance at transformation. So, if you respect yourself, be the change you want to see. Start now. Share. Anxiety may even try to rule, but together, we can show that we are greater.